And he says, Stansbury, my dad used to tell me that if you have to resort to swearing, this showing running the asylum.
Lay down.
Right? I'm going to ask, and I'm asking a question. Is it a lowering of the standard to swear and use profanity widely? Or is it just simply a changing of a standard? Because it could just be that. Because again, I don't necessarily like the way it sounds, even though I'm very, very guilty of it.
What did you eat?
And all of these things.
Nothing.
But I did make this point yesterday. And I think it's a little true. I'm using words
gas station,
right now.
get something to drink.
None of them are problematic. We decided these words were bad, wrote them off from society, and then only heightened like their allure. Right? Don't eat cookies before. What is that kid? You create this, but I wanna, right? Like there's a little bit of that. And I said yesterday, like, but I can't say they were effing. There are a lot of people who don't even want me to say what I just said there. Like, just say you're not allowed to say the F word. Don't even say F and then put the ing. There are people who don't like language on a level like that. It's okay, they're allowed to have their opinion. You know what I mean? I'm not yelling at anybody. I'm saying, but like, isn't that, but like, the words are made up. We decided. Everything is made up. Right? Like, everything is made up. So we just decided that these words are bad. And then created other words that mean the same thing and said, yeah, run with them.
A lot of them.
Like, people always ask me about this word, because I'll use it. Pussy. It's like, I can call you that word. I can do that. Referring to anatomy that way, buddy, you got some problems now, right? And like, and I have always said for 20 years, fun game we're playing, ain't it? Right? Like, it's kind of, it's a little crazy. It's a little strange how that works. Also, to Joel's point, because I'm willing to bet a lot of people have this point. My grandfather told me this, and yours did too, right? This has been a thing. So, to their point, his point, maybe yours even, what's swearing? Some people don't think GD is. Some of you think it's the worst phrase you can use while swearing. Remember yesterday we kind of talked about a little bit, it used to be HE double hockey sticks. Remember that one? Today you'd be like, come on, swear, use hell. Hell was swearing once. I know, we forget that now. Was that a lowering of a standard, or did we just change it? I think we are headed towards more profanity throughout traditional broadcast. I could be wrong. I talked to Alan Cox about it yesterday, and he said, look, he's like, I understand it. He's like, but his point, and I like this. He said, I'm a big fan of professionalism. He's like, so I don't necessarily want that for television or radio. And we both agreed as radio hosts, we kind of like the fact, and I've said this about, XM and all of this other stuff for years. I do enjoy, sometimes it feels restrictive, but I do feel more creative within a boundary. Because it's like, I need to say this. How do I say it without just plainly saying? But I think podcasting and TikTok videos are changing a lot of that. And I think if other traditional media outlets want to keep a fight in this, they're out there too, right? So we got to talk about them too. So we'll do that. George Carlin. The variable of that hasn't been addressed really is that you can be the post and be like, nah, I was kind of around that situation. I remember people trying to like push that one down and not let it get juice and all of that. So I want to leave a more open view to that, but it was in the pod yesterday and I wanted to address it, right? Because we know how things work. So there's that. But as we were talking about swearing, Tim brought up a pretty decent point.
Time to eat a little bit.
Isn't this just about self-control and the respect of other people? And really, when you make it as basic, now the problem there is showing respect for other people.
In the square,
right? Like there's been a shift of that attitude. Can't let anybody have the upper hand. Like Costanza, right? Gotta have the hand. And of course, the best joke in that episode is, you have your hand, and it's all you. Right? And so, I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but like, there's that. And there's some truth in that. I think that is part of the problem. Is that if we ask people, some people, not all of us, but if we ask some people, hey man, it's now a complete affront to who they are, and you want to delete their space or don't want them to exist. And it's like, nah, I just want you to be doing things that makes it easier for other people to exist as well. Right? But again, what's my famous line? I wish I could remember where I got this. Maybe I did make it up my dad. Because your neighbor has it too. And like, again, what is swearing? It's really just the F word. It's like, well, we're going to get it all the way down to one? I guess the C word's probably the worst one, right? Now, there are multiple C words. That's what's interesting about that word. It can mean a male body part, but when I say the C word, you know
I don't think...
right? Because everybody's like, do whatever you do. Right? Don't whip that one out. That one actually makes me want to move across the pond. I love the way they use that word. Everybody's one of those, and I love it. Because I like adding a Y to the end of that word. I'm feeling a little CT today. I like adding a Y to the end of it. I'm a big fan of that. Jolene says, look, honestly, Stansbury, it's just unattractive to me when I hear people cursing and swearing. It's just unattractive. Yeah, I think it really depends on, I think this can come down to upbringing. It's strange for me to see adults swear in front of like little kids. It's strange to me because my dad mad enough to swear at me and hit me. Now, he didn't ball up his fist and punch me in the face, but we were walking through Kmart in Solon, and I was a preteen who thought I knew everything. So I was mouthing off to his wife, otherwise known as my mother, and nothing made him mad more than disrespecting his wife. And he swore at me, and he smacked me in the back of the head. Parented me, essentially. You know what I mean? But like, they're isolated. Because of how rare it was in my house. They just didn't speak that way. They just didn't do it. And when I don't have a problem, it's not unattractive to me if people swear is like, you know, just around this and that. If it's every other word, it's noticeable. It's not unattractive to me. I understand why it is to Jolene and to other people. I get that. It's noticeable to me. I wouldn't necessarily call it unattractive. Swearing in front of children is one of those things where I get a little Karen-ish about. There was a time once where I was in somebody's house, and I bet you can piece together whose house I'm talking about, and their child had been running around, and there were other adults there, and one that did not like me, and I did not like that person a whole lot. And I bet it's very easy to piece together who the hell it is I might be talking about, and kept swearing in front of that kid, and was asked multiple times by the other parents, will you please stop doing this? Will you please stop doing this? And at some point it got said, oh, it's just who I am. What do you want from me? And I said from the other room, decency. Sign up sheet for the Stansbury Cup, our golf outing. That's next month. We'll see you guys. Cannot wait for that. It's always so much fun. Normally go home and pass out pretty early after that one. Normally can find me in my cups, as they say for that one. Why not, right? Took the day off work. Might as well day drink a little, play a little golf. We'll see you July 24th. We have been talking about swearing. This all kind of got started by JJ Redick and I. And at this point, I'm thinking about renaming this show The Voice of the Tims. I got like 4 Tims in my messages all at the same time. One of them had said, look, there's a time and place for swearing.
You want a water?
But it is about self-control and the respect of other people.
You sure?
Well, it is self-control. I addressed that. I said, look, we've been sold recently that not having self-control is virtue. That using self-control is, you're letting the man put his boot on your neck or whatever the hell the thing is out there. Lick the boots! And like all that kind of stuff that happens. And so I think there's just initial pushback. That definitely feels like a more like teenager's argument about being told not to swear for sure. I remember feeling that way about it. In the like, I have another Tim here who has written in and says, look, man, I deal with professionals all the time. I'm talking lawyers, bankers, and all of that. He's like, excessive swearing to me is just as bad as a limp handshake. I've lost all respect for you. So this is what's interesting. This is the third time I've read that message, and now I've read it to you, and I'll be honest, I kind of missed the word excessive the last couple of times I looked at that message, because I think it changes its meaning. I'll address the limp handshake, though. There is nothing worse than when you botch at the handshake. You almost just want to look a guy in the face and be like, dude, come on, dude, give me another shot at that one, right? Like, there's nothing worse than when you botch that. It's like, oh, God, he thinks I'm one of those, right? And it's like, that sucks. Botching the handshake is a terrible thing. Excessive swearing. See, again, now, I don't know if this is just welcome to the way people talk, use words literally or excessively, use all this stuff, right? Or if he does actually mean excessively. Meaning, if you are having a conversation with a lawyer or a banker and they slip one of them in, not necessarily so bad. But if it's been like 6 of them, now all of a sudden it's like, oh, geez, what are we doing here? I bet that's what he means. I think other people would look at it and say, dude, it's not necessarily the amount of swear words. It's which ones you use, right? Like, damn's all fine. The S word's fine. Let's not be doing F's at a business meeting, right? And there's a little bit of that. Now, Mark reached out. That at my Instagram, you can find me on your socials, The Stansbury Show. And Mark said, look, man, you don't bring locker room talk to the press conference. What about a victory press conference? Are we looking at it differently? Maybe we're not. I am just throwing it out there as an examination. I'm curious about that. Like, if you got the champagne being poured all over you and you're holding the Larry O'Brien trophy, do we view that differently if you swear in that moment? I bet we do. That will be seen as, passion, dude. He's keeping it at 100. Authenticity, man. I think that's how a lot of people would look at that. I want to go back to Tim's point, though. Excessive swearing to me is just as bad as a limp handshake. I've lost all respect for you. Now, I'm curious about this. Because this person, and I know for sure he writes in a lot, he listens to me a lot. There are people who think I swear on the air. Other of you go, no, you don't. You're playing within the FCC regulations. You're clearly not swearing, right? Some of you think some of the things I'm using are swearing. Some of you don't, right? But there are people who do. And so I'm curious. Have you lost respect for me? Maybe a lot of you have, but I guess I'm addressing that. And I'm not looking to start a fight with you over the question. Because, just because I want to say, well, you obviously haven't because you listen. But that would then mean that everybody who listens to me respects me. And let me just tell you, baby, I have done this for a long damn time. Swear word, dollar in the jar. But I have done this for a very, very long time. Thank you for that, by the way. But I have done it for a long time. Here's what I can tell you. Not all of them respect me. Not all. Not even close. They don't even all like me, for crying out loud.
You didn't take a picture?
You can't even imagine how many people are sitting there every day rooting on my failure. And they're the Indian rain dancers, man. They're going to dance until it happens, and when it happens, they're going to take credit for it. It'll be the AI and the lack of financial dollars in advertising. It won't be the haters, but trust me, they're going to dance around these bones of this body and celebrate like they did it.
Beautiful.
So that can't be it. So that's not it. I'm curious then about that. Or if you just don't view the words I use as swearing. Because people will say, well, you swear on the air.
This is new, sweetheart.
Like, well, technically not really. But yes,
sweet chili
from a
cheese,
parental view,
sweet
maybe.
and spicy or something like that.
Maybe.
Really
and what I would
spicy.
say is, you're in charge of what your kids are listening to.
Done.
I am not. And maybe that's what JJ Redick is thinking. And maybe that's what the television network is thinking.
It's delicious.
Like, look, man, you guys got your kids on TikTok now at 13 making millions of dollars using whatever language they want. All of a sudden now what comes out of our camera is the biggest problem facing America. Like, there is an argument in that. But I understand the bulk of society going, dude, look, there's a time and place for that, and that's exactly why the internet is what that's for. The problem with that is you're not wrong. But the problem is that TV is in competition with the internet. You can't say, well, everybody's going there because that's where the authenticity is, and then look at television and go, hey, whatever you do, don't become authentic. Welcome back to the Stansbury Show. 9 a.m., sit down, talk to comedian Pat McGann. See where he thinks the state of comedy is these days. He's on tour with Sebastian Maniscalco. Talk to him about that as well. 9 a.m. here on the Stansbury Show. So a lot of programs like mine and a lot of, advice columns and a lot of other content creators, it comes down to relationships a lot, right? Because we're all in them, or at least have all been in them.
Saying that you're like...
Other people looking to get into another. Some people have 3 or 4 of them going on right now. So it's what we would call evergreen, because we all have relationships. We had talked once upon a time about what would a woman rather encounter in the wilderness, a bear or a man. And I understand that thought exercise. I do, I get it. And we have talked about that plenty of times. We also talked about there was a flip of that coin not that long ago. What would a man rather tell his problems to? A woman or a tree? Because a lot of times, some women, this is true, when you show them vulnerability or weakness, they thought they wanted it. You're not the brawny dude? Yeah, I think I'm kind of out. I'm gonna sleep with your best friend now. And that does happen. It's not all women, of course. But men have been hurt by more than a few women like that in their lives. For sure. I can just tell you from experiences of my own life and friends close to me. It happens. You don't hear about it a whole lot because if he talks about it and says, yeah, I didn't love how that felt. Simp, pussy, weakling. Why don't men ever talk about their mental health? Well, because other men yell at them and call them sissies for it. Or women will be like, I'm going to go get the Marlboro man to D me down now. That's why. It's not the only reason. And it's not, that's not why every man has refused to talk to you. That's not it. But it could have been. And I think sometimes we overlook that as a society. I mention it because another one of these has kind of gone viral now. Now, it is a meme, and I've always said about these, it's like, dude, these make sense in the 20 seconds you're looking at them, because it's like, yeah, that's true. But I thought this was a little interesting. This says here that any man can decline an invitation by saying that his wife or girlfriend won't let him go. And my husband or boyfriend will not let me go. Everybody gets concerned about that behavior. Now, before we even get into the truth of it and how much of it you see and where it goes and this and that, first, what we're going to dispel of is the low-hanging fruit part of this, which is some guys, and I would have to have my hand raised here, you have used your wife and girlfriends as excuses why you don't want to go do other things. Some of you listening are friends, other people are just, kind of acquaintances. Some of you I don't know at all, but plenty of you listening, friends and other people have asked me to do things. I'm going to guess on the times I told you we had plans or she had this going on is why I said no to you, 9 out of 10. Her and I weren't even spending enough time together for her to be the reason I didn't have time to go do something with you. Like, we weren't. Like, that's literally why we were fighting as much as we did and why I was like, you know what? I think I'm kind of done here. That's what did it. But I used that as an excuse every last chance I got. I don't know, man. I think we might be going to her sister's. Yeah, the sister I'd never met. It might have been that one. But, bro, I used her as the excuse so many times. Because it was just easier. It's like saying no to having a drink at a party. Come on, why? It's why people who, it's like, it's kind of one of those things. However, I have said only 10 million times in here, over the 10 years that I have been here, that what is true, that if I ask you to hang out, you need 2 days to clear it with her before you're allowed to do that. If her friend calls and says, let's go to Kohl's, she picks up that purse, grabs those keys, and tells you what's what. Like, it's just true. It's like, that is true. Now, are there men listening who are not in relationships like that? Are there women listening who are not like that? The answer is, of course, yes. But come on. There's a reason why every salesperson ever has had the original switch pitch of, well, I gotta ask my wife first. There's a reason. Because ladies lay down that law. They do. You meet a guy, and he's got a little too many Star Wars toys out, or maybe he's into that Marvel universe a little too much. He'd be perfect if I could get him to get his classic car collection on the shelf put away. He'd be perfect if I could just get him wearing a few more pairs of khakis and not those greasy jeans, so my friends see what I see in him and his potential. Perfectly okay. That's a woman doing her job. Smoothing out the rough edges. She's doing her job, right? If a man meets a young woman today and is like, it's only fan stuff, to being naked, I don't know. Meets her, wants to change everything, wants to be like, let's maybe live a more quiet lifestyle. Let's be a little bit more, and I don't mean politically conservative with our actions. I don't mean politically. Controlling. Won't let her be the queen. Won't let her do this. There is some truth in what we're saying here. Every man listening to me who's had a woman move into your home, whether it be your apartment, your house, or whatever, but it was you living there and she moved in. Do a 360 around that place today. Happens slow, don't it? Razor in the shower. A little bit more bathroom products. Hair straightener. Next thing you know, where'd that frame come from? I don't even own this! She took control though, didn't she? That's changing who you are to fit what makes her happy.
What is that?
Right? This is
Really
true.
nice car.
That if a man sets out to change a woman in this regard, he's awful. We are going to have to start to address all of these things because there are plenty of bad dudes out there. You know, going back to the bear and the man thing.
Bird, look at that.
And I've had plenty of women tell me this. You know, like sometimes, Dan, you make the mistake of, because you're a good guy
Oh, that's beautiful.
who jokes around about being a bad one, you forget there are, honest to God, bad dudes. And I mean every. And they might be a little right about that. But the amount of guys I know who live in complete, and I mean fear, of upsetting that woman because of the vitriol and anger and the screaming that is going to come with it is a lot. It is a lot. It is kind of true. A woman isn't really, she's not demanding change, she's refining your edges, where a man is controlling your behavior. Get yourself signed up for the Stansbury Cup. Our golf outing is next month at WRQK.com. We'll see you guys at Raintree Golf and Event Center. Such a great track. I can't wait to get back out there. Looking forward to that. We had been talking about relationships a little, and we're going to continue, but just on a different subject. A lot of people getting divorced, other people kind of getting into the era of their life where they're going to start dating around, right? And I've heard that there are a lot of challenges out there in the dating world today because of how the world works. And there's been a lot of new terms, right? Like ghosting and breadcrumbing and all of that kind of stuff. But there's a new one, and it's called sneaky link. And a sneaky link, I actually think that this could be a positive for some people. That is a romantic relationship. You're hooking up, and you don't tell anybody. You know, they know, that's it. You're not cheating. You're not sleeping with your best friend's girlfriend. It's not that. But your friends don't know. Your family doesn't know. Nobody knows. You know. I think this is going to take off, and this will become more and more popular as more and more of our lives go online. Because I think a lot of people say, this used to be a big phrase, don't air out your dirty laundry in public. And I talk about it all the time. People used to say to me, how do you admit that about yourself all the time, blah, blah. And like now everybody does it. And I think all things are cyclical. I think this could come back around. But what they're doing is they're looking to avoid either real or sometimes perceived issues that come with being in a relationship with another person, or when your friends or family find out. Are you going to be judged because you're sleeping with that person? Oh, they don't fit what my parents think is right for me, or what my best friend likes, or I don't want my best friend to find out he voted for this person. Like, that's a big thing right now too. And so more and more people are going into sneaky links because of the judgment of other people. Now, this is normally where I would stop here and go, oh, I thought we didn't care what anybody thought about us. Again, I'm proven right about that every day. And because of the fact that I'm proven right about that every last day, I don't necessarily have to hit that nail on the head here with this. I actually like this for you. This is not the only reason. And this is not a complaint. But if you think what I do for a living and the honesty I use in here makes relationships with women easier, you are out. A lot of people are doing that. They're doing radio shows with their thumbs and admitting everything about themselves. Other people in those relationships don't like it. I talked to a woman yesterday who went out on her 4th date with a guy last night. And she said to me, she goes, you know why I like this guy? I said, what is it? No social media. She likes the fact that he's not going to run and like, date review. She's right. Now, it's not necessarily a sneaky link. She's not afraid of anybody finding out they're dating out, but she kind of likes the fact that that's not a thing. That a little bit left for us.
Smell of your fart.
Again, make it about a radio person. Look at the Howard Stern movie.
Yeah.
What did Allison yell at him about? He took something that they were laughing about in their bed, and because she laughed at it, he thought, okay, here we go, and gave it to his audience. And then what's in the movie? That was funny for us, how for everybody. Every woman I've ever dated has said that exact same phrase to me. The exact same phrase.